Hi, good morning, and welcome to the Furman Transformation Podcast. This is Jonathan Furman, founder and CEO of Furman Transformation, and I am here to talk with you today about a story which, in my opinion, is not getting quite enough attention, but is an amazing feat and a very, very interesting piece, and definitely worth taking a couple bites out of, so I want to just jump right into it. What I'm talking about here is Amazon's big move. This was the June 16th, 2017 purchase by Amazon of Whole Foods for $13.7 billion, right? Tremendous. So you think about this for a second. First of all, it's a ton of money. It's a huge purchase by Amazon. On the surface level, you're looking at that, 465 retail stores purchased. It's quite an acquisition. Now, as you get into a little bit more, you start to see the implications of this. So first of all, you know Amazon. You're probably aware that Bezos really Bezos really is the king of retail, and he created essentially a juggernaut of a website of e-commerce, and really took over the e-commerce online retail world, I should say. Took over as the king of online retail, and really just found a way to get very, very low prices, very quick delivery, fast selection, and to make it very conducive to a positive customer experience. So that's Amazon, and they've done a very good job at that. Of course, coming up from what used to be a bookstore in the early 90s, got in right at the right place, right time, and essentially flourished the company. And maybe a mix of luck and skill was able to produce one of the largest online retailers. Now, that being said, one of the reasons I would say attributed to the fact that they're so successful is that Jeff Bezos is very in tune with tech. He'll accredit it to customer experience. He'll talk a lot about being very customer obsessed, and I think that's very true. He always wants to make the customer experience better. But deeper than that, I think what it really is that he has a very good knack for automation and seeing where automation and efficiency can happen utilizing new technologies. And so a couple examples of that are, if you look at the distribution centers. He's got more robotics in those distribution centers than I think any other retailer. They're essentially assembling. They're essentially doing everything, and so that tells you something. That first of all, they're cutting tremendous costs there. They can pass on those savings. You can also look at what they're doing in terms of, well, first of all, the fact that you can get virtually any product you want now, whether it's a retail item, a typical retail item, or of course a book, or fresh produce now, groceries online, and you can get whatever it is that you want. You can get it on Amazon. But going on that same wave of efficiency, you're even looking at they're doing drone delivery now. And you tell me another company that's doing drone delivery. Obviously they're rolling it out in beta, but he's very, very close with Silicon Valley. He knows what's going on. He's very in tune with it, and he's essentially taking this company to places where maybe a lot of other companies should be going. He's expediting. He's punching a hole, and he's going through it. So that's a little bit about Amazon there. Why is this purchase so important? And I think that's a lot of people, they see it, they hear about it. They're not really understanding why it's such an important purchase and something to be really aware of. Here's why. Obviously you've got your big box retailers, you've got Walmart, you've got Target, you've got Costco, a million other of them, all which would be considered blue chip stock, great companies, unfaltering, unwavering, all the good confidence words you like to give to companies that you've got a lot of confidence in. When now, unfortunately for them, he's got these big box retailers on their toes a little bit. And why is that? Well, for starters, he's dominated online retail very well, better than any of them could. They had to play catch up on that. He took a large bit of market share away from them, but they were still surviving. The fact now that he's bought 465 retail locations of Whole Foods. What does that do? That gives him tremendous scale. It gives Bezos the ability to roll out automation in the way that he did with the online retail to all of these stores and very, very quickly. Okay, that's a big thing. You think about that for a second. That is a huge, huge thing because he's got the ability to do it now. He's rolled out, if you've watched a couple of the last subsidiaries, one of the actually most interesting ones was Amazon Go. And a lot of people don't know about this, but this was actually a beta store that they launched in Seattle not too long ago. It's actually the first cashier-free grocery store ever. That is pretty crazy. Okay, so again, we talked about he's got the automation unlock in online retail. Now you're talking about a cashier-free retail location. Can you fathom that for a second? Okay, so you walk into Walmart, you walk into Target, you pick out what you want, and you walk out. No line. No more standing in line. No more waiting to see which line is longer or shorter. No more hassle. You're in, you're out. Imagine that. Like it's your house. You walk in, you take it, you walk out. It's just that simple, automation. That's a huge concept. And they knew that. They knew that he had that store. So what do you think is going through their head now that he's got 465 retail locations of Whole Foods? They're freaking out. They're freaking out. Because now he's got the scale. Not only the scale, now he's got the profitability. Because for a long time, they weren't profitable. Now he's got money. He's got free capital. Watch out. That's the message is watch out. And so this is where it's very interesting. And so, you start to see where it's going. That's just one example, of an example where completely automating the retail sector. That's just one example. There are a million other things. If you look at the technologies that are coming about right now, you'll understand the people that are doing things with those technologies. That's the wave. That's the ball game. And you're either on that wave or you're off it. Bezos is on that wave and he is riding that thing, disrupting an entire industry. And they're scared right now. And that's what's going on. And so the question really is, are these big box retailers going to be able to catch up? Are they going to be able to find a way to maintain? Are they going to be able to find new ways to exceed what he's doing? Or are they going to falter? And are they going to become the relic of the past? Are these big box retailers going to become the next department store, the next JCPenney? And are they going to be done? And that's what people are asking themselves right now. You look at the stocks of a lot of these big blue chips, and you saw that purchase and they dipped. They went down. And that's consumer confidence, faltering a little bit and putting some questions into the minds of people and minds of consumers and the minds of companies, what's going to transpire next. Now, there's a couple important questions here, a couple important implications. You might first ask yourself, well, if Amazon did so well with online, right? If it's so easy to just snap your fingers and get a product, snap your fingers and get a plum or a banana, whatever it is that you want, your fresh produce, your fresh groceries, and you could do it all by sitting on your couch, why would you ever even go to a store in the first place? Well, that's a great question to ask yourself. And will we even need brick and mortar as we know it? Why would he even purchase that if he's done so well with automation? Well, I think that's a great question. And I think the answer to that is that I don't think that brick and mortar will ever truly go away. I don't believe that brick and mortar will ever disappear because I feel people will always romanticize with it. They'll always relate to it, and they will always want a visceral experience or the option of a visceral experience when it comes to shopping. And I'll give you a perfect example. just imagine you go into, it's obviously it's great to be able to get things instantaneous, pretty quick and not have to go anywhere, not have to drive your car, not have to waste gas, but, at a cheaper price. But, just imagine that imagine you're going into a Publix, right? You're going into a supermarket and you want to get some fresh fruit, right? Because everybody loves fresh fruit. There's nothing tastier, more delicious than really ripe, good, fresh fruit, right? So, and healthy. So you go into Publix and you start looking around and you're in the mood for some plums, right? So you go over to the plum section and you pick one up and you sort of feel it. Why are you doing this? You're feeling it. You want to get a visceral experience as to, is it ripe? Is it soft? Is it hard? Are there any bruises on it? You'll kind of like flip it around, see if there are any bruises, and you do this sort of take on it because you're in touch with, what that plum is going to taste like. What is the experience you're going to have with it? And it's something that I think as humans we're always going to want. And so understanding that, I don't think brick and mortar in that sense will ever go away. The only question is going to be who's going to do it better. And who's gonna own the market? And I think, right now, if you're looking at this story, you're looking at what's going on, I think Amazon's got a really good shot. And it's going to be up to these other big box companies to start figuring out what needs to be done. And they're going to have to really start to put their finger on the pulse of Silicon Valley when maybe a lot of them haven't wanted to, or, wanted to keep things the same, didn't want to shake the boat. Neither did the board members. Well, you know what? Now the boat's been shaken. And so you're going to see, how they're going to react, how they're going to respond. And I think you're going to start to see change. And the ones that get on board with technology, the IT, are going to be successful. And the ones that don't, I think they may falter. And so that's going to be something to look out for, whether you're a company or you're a consumer. But more importantly, to take this lesson from the perspective of being a company and understanding that things do change very quickly in business. And if you want to have staying power, if you want to survive in the very, very cutthroat world of business, you've got to be have a very, very good eye for change, and you've got to be able to get on that wave as it's coming. If you want to do a surfing analogy, if you see that wave coming, it's all about when you start paddling, right? That's going to determine whether you ride that wave or not. And let me tell you something, that wave is coming. So the time to start paddling is now. Again, the companies that do it are going to be in, have a good shot. I'm not going to say they're going to be in, but they're going to have a good shot. Companies that don't might be unfortunate. It's very possible. So that's what's going on. Now, you could also ask yourself, obviously you and I, we don't know all the ins and outs of Bezos. We don't know all the plans. We don't know everything that's going on in his head. But if you look not at Bezos, but at IT, if I'm Walmart, if I'm Target, if I'm Costco, I'm thinking right now, look, I don't just want to catch up with what he's doing. I don't want to just match what he's doing. I've got to exceed it, right? If you really are serious about this, if you're really serious about keeping your brand power, your brand equity, and actually propelling it higher, then this is how you need to be thinking, is what can I do with the technologies that are coming out right now that are really first starting to become mainstream and starting to become democratized? What can I incorporate that Bezos hasn't? Just what can I incorporate? Forget about what Bezos is doing. What can I incorporate? And you start to think, and you know what? And there are so many things that can be done. And it's just the fact that either they're not seeing them or they're not willing to put the money on the table. But I'll give you an example. We talk about visceral experiences. Well, what is one of the most visceral technologies that's coming out right now? You think about it for a second. What's one of the most visceral technologies that's coming out right now? Some of you that know tech, you're going to tell me instantly, it's VR. It's virtual reality. Virtual reality has made strides that no other technology has made it, in a while, right? I mean, I'm not going to say that because there are a lot of other technology making strides, but I mean, they've made huge, tremendous strides. You look at where VR was 10 years ago. There's no comparison, right? This is actual VR. You take one of those headsets and you put it on, you could lose yourself in that world. It's that good. If you haven't tried VR, you've got it. You've got to give it a try. But virtual reality, just imagine you're sitting at home, right? Imagine you're ordering something on a Walmart website. Let's just say Walmart. Let's say Amazon hasn't done this, right? I'm ordering something on a Walmart website. And now Amazon's got a partnership with Oculus Rift, which is the VR headsets that Facebook owns, or maybe they've got their own. And they've got influence in VR. And before Bezos does, now, not only can they automate a online purchase experience, but they can also allow you to put on those VR headsets and actually walk into a local location via VR. Walk up to the produce section, pick out a plum, pick up that plum, and have a visceral experience on whether or not you want to put that plum in your bag and check out. That's one example. Who's doing VR in retail? Something to think about, right? Here's another one. And this is, a little further down the line, but let me tell you something. The way that we farm, the way that we breed animals, for food, that's going away. So the new technology here is actually being able to grow food with stem cells. And what you're talking about is actually having to eliminate the fact of torturing these animals and killing them. We're actually going to be able to get to a place, and this is technology that is very, very real, that you'll actually be able to essentially 3D print food. And so this is another technology, and this is much further down than I'd say VR, but you look at that too and you say, well, that's another one. And so I think if you're Walmart, your Target, you may be freaking out right now. I don't know that you need to be. I think you take this as a lesson. I think you take this and say, look, he's got to punch in. He's got to hit on us. But now we're awake to what's going on. And that's what's important, because it's not bad that you get hit. It's bad that you get hit and you don't know that you got hit, or you don't take that for what it is. So that's what I think needs to be done. I think they need to wake up and say, hey, for a second, you know what, there is something going on here, and there is something deeper, and we need to figure out not how do I play catch up with Amazon, how do I exceed what Amazon is doing? And that's the story that I'll leave you with today, and I think it's a very, very important one, and I urge you as a company to start looking through this lens. Start looking at what's going on in Silicon Valley. Start looking at these new technologies that are coming up, AI, IoT, blockchain, all of these new technologies, and start figuring out how you can incorporate these things into your everyday tasks, everyday consumer experiences, everyday operations, anything that you're doing. Look how these things can dramatically change your life. And like I said, this change is happening faster than we've ever seen. People think linearly, but this is not happening linearly. And we are going to see the biggest revolution that mankind, any of us, have ever seen. And again, you can either be on that wave or you can be off it. Thanks for listening. This is Jonathan Furman from Furman Transformation. We are a business consulting or growth agency. We help small to mid-sized and growth stage companies, specifically in tech, really take their growth to the next level, whether that be the sales engine, the marketing engine, the PR engine, or solutional problems. We handle it all. We do it all. And we want to hear from you. Give us a call. You can reach me at the office at 561-571-0638. We do free consultations. Any question you have, anything you need regarding your business, regarding how do I grow it. You know, if you're a tech guy, you coded an app, you've got a team, and they're all tech guys, and you don't know how to do biz dev. I'm your guy. I'm the guy you call. I'm going to find a way. If there's a way, I'm going to find a way to get you on the map, because that's what I do. And I work with tech, and that's what I love. That's what I know, and that's what I can do for you. So if you're a tech company, your growth stage, maybe you're bigger than that, I don't know. But if that's you, and you see some value here, you give me a call. I don't even want to do business right away. You just give me a call, and let's talk, because I want to learn about you. I want to know what you're doing, and I want to see. First of all, is there a chance I can help you? Because there may or may not be. But if there is, you better believe I want to go in there, and I want to take that company to the next level. Thanks again, Jonathan Furman, Furman Transformation. Talk to you soon. Bye. You can reach me at the office at 561-571-0638. We do free consultations. Any question you have, anything you need regarding your business, regarding how do I grow it. You know, if you're a tech guy, you coded an app, you've got a team, and they're all tech guys, and you don't know how to do biz dev. I'm your guy. I'm the guy you call. I'm going to find a way. If there's a way, I'm going to find a way to get you on the map, because that's what I do. And I work with tech, and that's what I love. That's what I know, and that's what I can do for you. So if you're a tech company, your growth stage, maybe you're bigger than that, I don't know. But if that's you, and you see some value here, you give me a call. I don't even want to do business right away. You just give me a call, and let's talk, because I want to learn about you. I want to know what you're doing, and I want to see. First of all, is there a chance I can help you? Because there may or may not be. But if there is, you better believe I want to go in there, and I want to take that company to the next level. Thanks again, Jonathan Furman, Furman Transformation. Talk to you soon.